Hello Crafty Crandall fam. In today's video, I am finally painting these tiny canvases that I bought. If you saw my finger painting video, that had the art haul where I bought these, but today is the day I'm going to paint on them. So I already gessoed them, they're all set. I also went through the process of preparing my paints. It is the weekend, so I've got a little bit of extra time, so I went through my Miyahime gouache and I refreshed them all. So I'm excited to jump in, and I am going to be painting 4 landscapes for you guys. I am going to be painting a desert landscape in Moab, Utah. I'm going to be painting the Swiss Alps from Geneva. I'm going to be painting Mount Fuji in Japan, and I'm going to be painting the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. These are all places that I really want to go someday, and so I'm going to be painting these landscapes. I have all of my smallest brushes here, so hopefully they will come in handy for these tiny landscapes, and without any further ado, let's hop into the painting. I started by painting the Utah landscape because I felt like it would be a good one to kind of transition into painting this small, because the shapes of that image were a little bit more obvious or clean cut. There was the one overarching shape of the desert and then the other shape of the sky, so it was a little bit easier to convey, and that was kind of my methodology throughout this process, was just to consider the shapes so that I could convey the landscape without having to get too detailed, as the landscapes were so small. I had a lot of fun trying to get the clouds right in all of the illustrations, with the obvious exception of the water one, because there were clouds in each of them, and I found that I could almost use the white of the background to work to my advantage. I really enjoyed working on these plants as well, as I feel like they are the centerpiece of the illustration. They're what your eyes are drawn to, and so I wanted to make them as varied as possible while keeping true to the original shapes, as I said. Overall, I do think that I was a little bit too heavy-handed with the orange in this illustration. I think it could have been muted down just a little bit more to more of a tan color to display the sand, but overall, I think the values were okay. It was really just the hues or the saturation of the colors. I don't know the exact terminology. I am not a color expert. But overall, it was really fun to do. I tried to use a lighter color to kind of display the motion of the sand, because you could definitely see in the reference image there was a clear motion to the ground, and you could kind of see the directionality of the little sand dunes underneath, which was really cool and something that I really look forward to seeing in real life. I think that that will be really beautiful just to see, and to try to maybe even capture in plein air when I'm there, so that I can actually be doing it and like seeing the landscape for real. I think that would be extremely fun, and is definitely a goal of mine. I'd actually like to go to Utah twice, once for snowboarding in the winter and once for just touring and maybe mountain climbing in the fall or spring time frame. So that is kind of the goal here. I would really love to see it, and am definitely intrigued by the landscape, as there is nothing like this in New York State. You can't see this type of landscape there. Next, I decided to go with Mount Fuji, which is a scene that I would just love to see. I have actually been to Japan before. I went to Tokyo and Kyoto, but did not make my way to Mount Fuji. So it is a goal of mine at some point in my life to go back to Japan and get to see Mount Fuji. I think that that would be just a really fun trip, and it's just a landmark that has been kind of present in my life throughout just hearing about it, and I know a lot of people who have traveled there, and so it's just been something that I've always heard about and wanted to do, but I've never really had the opportunity, as I didn't have enough vacation time to spend in Japan when I went over there the first time. This illustration was a lot more simple, I think, than the first one, so it was almost easier in that way to display, and I had a lot of fun making it, trying to use my detail brush to just capture these little portions where the snow didn't quite cover it all, and also portraying the shadows of the scene on the mountain. Overall, I think that this scenery is just incredible, and obviously it wouldn't be a Japanese illustration if I didn't include the cherry blossoms, the sakura. So it was a lot of fun to kind of add these in, and truly I would love to travel there when they're blossoming so that I could see them. But I know that's when pretty much everyone travels to Japan, so I'm not sure if that would be practical, given just the state of the world. Who knows what travel will be available to us in the future, but it is definitely a goal of mine to go back. Similarly, I have also already been to Geneva, Switzerland, but again, I just know that it is such an amazing place, and I feel like Switzerland in general really caters to everything that I love to do in life. It has amazing water, it has amazing mountains, you have all of the activities in the summer and in the winter. There is so much to do there, and I just think that it really caters to my love of the outdoors and is just an incredible place to visit. Additionally, I already speak a bit of French and not quite as much German, but I feel like I could learn relatively, not easily, but with some time and some practice, I could learn some more of the language to kind of fare better there. In Japan, it was difficult because nobody really spoke English. So I think that there's a lot more English-speaking people in Switzerland, but also the languages themselves I'm more familiar with, so it would just be easier to travel there for more of an extended period of time and really take in all of the activities that there are to do there, the amazing scenery, and everything. I would love to go back, like I said, to Geneva, to Lausanne specifically, and also Zurich as well. I was only there for a day, so I didn't really get to explore any of Zurich either. So it would just be really cool to go back, and is a place that I will always keep at the top of my travel list. Which brings me to a good point. I would love to know what places are on your travel list. I love talking to people about traveling, and it is really something that is just always at the top of my bucket list. Travels are my number one thing that I like to do, and obviously I would be seeing concerts at all of these places when I go, because concerts are a huge reason why I travel, in addition to the activities that I get to do in a place. So if you have any bucket list items that you'd like to share in the comments, I would really love to hear them, as these are things that I am really interested in doing and seeing one day. Last on this list, and perhaps the least practical of them all, but the one that I would just be most enamored with, is the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. It makes my heart so sad to hear about all of the destruction and just the truly destruction of the Great Barrier Reef that's been going on, and just through various climate change and lack of tending to our planet in the way that we should. The Great Barrier Reef is kind of deteriorating, and so I really wish that I could have seen it, years ago, but really wish that I can see it now as well before it gets any worse. So this is high on my travel list. I am a scuba diver, so I would love to scuba dive there and know people who have done it, and I'm just really really interested in having the opportunity. It's something that's been on my list for a really long time, and I always said to myself, if I didn't get to Australia before I was 30, that I was a failure. And I'm turning 30 this year, and I feel like such a failure. It makes me very sad to think that I didn't get to Australia, within my 20s, but let's change that for my 30s. I still have it as a goal, and I do believe that it is feasible for me to travel there in my 30s at some point. So it's on the list, and it won't be taken off. And I think that this illustration was most challenging one, but also the most fun. I think that it really captures kind of the whimsy of the underwater landscape. I think that the lighting was actually really well captured, and I am so happy with how each and every one of these came out. I would love to know your feedback down below in the comments as well. What do you think of these tiny landscapes? What else would you like to see me paint in miniature? Because I have 4 more of these little canvases, and I would love to take your suggestions. Personally, the underwater one, the Great Barrier Reef, is my favorite, but I would also love to hear which is your favorite down below. Which place would you be most interested in traveling to? And also, in general, what places in the world are you most interested in traveling to? Do you have any recommendations for me? I would really love to hear it, you guys, and I really appreciate you sticking with me, watching this video, and being interested in kind of seeing my painting process as it evolves and learning right alongside me. This is all a learning process, and I do really appreciate having you guys on board with me here today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you liked this video, please give it a like. If you liked this content, please consider subscribing to my channel, as I post every single Tuesday with new art-related content. Thank you guys so much, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!